So good afternoon, and I would like to thank you, the panelists of today, for such interesting discussion that we have just had today now. My name is Cristiano Villani. I'm a board member, sorry, of the Italian American Chamber of Commerce. You can hear me? Yeah? And also I'm president of Bravo International. Bravo International is a consulting company that aims to help the Italian food specialty company to succeed in this market. So we try to help them by the marketing operational point of view. We aim to be the US passport for the Italian product. And believe me, it's not only a matter of languages. Um, I'm glad to introduce today Professor Carlo Alberto Pratesi, that is one of the leading scholars and researchers in the field of marketing and communication. Carlo Alberto is a full professor at Marketing and Innovation Sustainability in Roma Free University, and as well, he has engaged with the faculty member of PhD program in Marketing and Social Communication for Roma Sapienza University. On top of his activity in university, Carlo Alberto is also has a successful activity like marketing communication consultancies and helping important brand in Italy like Barilla, Coop, that is the #1 retailer in Italy, Esselunga, that is the second one, Armani, and so on. He's also the founder of Italy's Academy Marketing Association, and he's a mentor of the Startup Boot Camp Food Tech that is leading an acceleration of program of startup, Italian startup. So please join me to welcome Professor Pratesi and also John Stanton here.
Thank you very much, and thank you for resisting until now. I'll try to be quick, but I have something to tell you about what's happening in Europe on food. I think I'm the only speaker today not living in US, so I learned really a lot from my colleague this morning and now, and also yesterday. I know that now US is really growing a lot in terms of awareness and competence on food. So probably the difference between Europe and US, Italy and US, is much less evident than what used to be some years ago. Ancient Roman used to say that if you want to remember something, it's important that it's not more than 7 items. So, you know, 7 hills of Rome, 7 kings of Rome, Snow White and 7 dwarfs, 7 days of the week. So I try to summarize in 7 points what's happening. As you will see, it's not very clear, our trends. Some trends are absolutely not consistent. There are some incoherence, and some are very similar to what is happening in US right now. Something is a little bit different, so I will go quick on things that are very, let's say, trivial, obvious for you, and maybe I will dip a little bit more in things that I didn't hear this morning and this afternoon and probably could be interesting. So, number 1, cross-cultural in Europe. Of course, food has always been something that is moving from one country to the other. But I must say that in last years, not only between countries in Europe, but also between other continents and Europe, it has been kind of cross-cultural contamination. If you look at how many times people eat foreign food, you can see that some country, like Germany, England, is eating really a lot, not British and not German food. Maybe it's normal because they don't have such a high level of food. Italy is resisting. Italy is resisting a little bit. We still eat a lot Italian, but also because we consider Italian food probably one of the best way of eating. And not only us, I mean, in the world, the share of market of Italian food is the second higher apart from Chinese food, almost all over. But even in Italy, we are not eating only Italian food. And in the last year, we are a little bit acquiring culture from abroad, maybe also because of the immigration that we are now having in Italy. Look only at this product, you know tortellini, everybody knows tortellini. Look what the leader tortellini maker in Italy is doing. Is doing tortellini with, let's say, adapted to Spain, Greece, India, Mexico. That means that we are really trying to find new way of eating, and some specific products, some specific ingredients are booming, not only in Italy. There are some ingredients that maybe some years ago, just few years ago, we didn't know and we were not using at all in our dish. For instance, ginger. Ginger is really a top performer. If you speak with retailers, they don't know how to buy so much ginger. Everybody is asking for ginger. And another very strange for us is quinoa. I think in US you have quinoa, but for us it's something strange because it's something that you eat not apart from pasta or meat, you have quinoa. Import in EU of quinoa is rising very quickly. It's considered healthy, and you will see it's also considered some kind of novelty and specialty food. This is not only in Italy. I mean, not only Italy is acquiring new trends from outside. In France, couscous, that is a typical North African dish, is #1 now. So it's no more considered ethnic. It's considered French food. And look at this. In Germany, they eat the Turkish kebab. And you can see Angela Merkel is appreciating kebab. But they don't consider kebab something strange for Germany. It's no more ethnic. It's just a typical German food. If I must say, what is the last trend in Italy? Just a few months ago, they opened the first shop of Hawaiian bar in Rome. This is just 5 minutes walking from the Colosseum, and big success. So poke, I know that in US there are many of these. That was the first in Italy just a few months ago, and it's already a success. Of course, some of these food are a bit expensive, especially for younger people. And from this point of view, it's very interesting what is happening, not only in Italy, but in all Europe for the avocado. Avocado is really become a bestseller in Italy and abroad. Young people, I don't know why, they love avocado toast. And avocado toast, it's something so expensive that somebody is starting arguing if they really can afford so many avocado toast and using avocado toast as an index of well-being. Look at this. This is made by BBC in England. They say how many avocado toast you need to just have an apartment in London or in Berlin. And it's funny because avocado was something that I didn't know until I was maybe 20 or 25. So it's something new, and it's becoming a social index important to recognize. Well, this is a trend, so contamination, cross-cultural. But at the same time, we have something that is probably the opposite. A big and growing interest in food that is local, and in a way certified as rooted in the specific territory. Why people like local food? Well, they say that there are many reasons. Here we can say 5 reasons for preferring local farms or local food: protection of the environment, freshness, treatment of animals, protection of your health. Well, it's not true. From the scientific point of view, the only reason that is absolutely guaranteed is that the strengthening of the local economy. I mean, if you buy local food, you are sure that the money stay in your area, but not that it's necessarily better or fresher or whatever. It depends, of course. But this kind of interest in local and specific food, of course, it's much more seen in Italy, where we have a lot of different local. I mean, we have food that is different in any kind of region, maybe city. Everybody thinks that the one is better than the others, and probably this is true. But you know, it's not only the Italians that like their own food. French, of course, they say, "Oh, our food is better. Why don't you eat only French?" And that, I mean, is acceptable because French food is good, and maybe also Spanish food. They are say keep calm, eat Spanish food. It's a bit more strange when they say love British food, because we all know that British food is not so super, but they start saying eat British food. And what about Northern Europe, where there is really no a cuisine? Well, Finnish say that their food is sexier than the others. This is Finnish food porn. And going on, you have also Belgian. Belgians say that, well, they don't have a kitchen. They don't have really cuisine. They have just some items, and they say you have to buy and eat Belgian buns. If you don't know what is, it's just the photo is there. But you know, if you are local, there is something that probably is useful to know, because the certification sometimes helps to guarantee a certain quality or control of the supply chain. So this is something that is doing a retailer in Spain for pigs, and but it's not only. In Italy we have, for instance, Barilla. We spoke about pesto this morning. Well, pesto, it's something that comes from just one plant, is basilico, and they are telling people, just look where we produce our pesto. There are webcams that show you exactly where it comes from. And it's a kind of transparency. People are asking for this transparency. They want to know where exactly the product comes from. And if they know that it's made in Italy, it's considered something good. From a social and political point of view, having a control of the supply chain helps also to control illegal employment. We have this kind of issue in Italy for tomatoes, maybe you know, and in a way this is Coop, the #1 retailer in Italy, is working a lot in demonstrating that their supply chain is controlled, and even from the, let's say, human rights, it's absolutely high quality. So first trend, cross-cultural. Second trend, local, and especially certified supply chain. Let's go to the third. Well, third, it's something that certainly we are also having in US, a little bit all over the world. We are looking for food that has something less. I mean, free from food, it's a big boom, and it's almost a style, style. And you know, it is affecting also some top product. Imagine that in Italy, Barilla, the #1 producer of pasta, is doing pasta without gluten. It's incredible, because there are not really so many celiac people, but people start thinking that if you don't have gluten, maybe it's better. And so they buy pasta without gluten. Of course, milk without milk. This is in Germany. And, well, chocolate without milk. And that's terrible, because if you think you are in Switzerland and people want to buy Swiss chocolate without milk, it's something really weird. But I mean, there is a market for this, and in some cases, just a fad, is just a trend, just psychological sensitiveness. In other cases, it's important, because we are also testing some problem of over sugar eating. This is Intermarché. You all know what Intermarché is, a big chain in France. They are helping people in detox from sugar. They say you eat 1 week chocolate with 5% less sugar, then 10, 20. At the end, you will eat a chocolate that is terrible, but after 5 or 6 weeks, for you, it could be even, let's say, good to eat. But to keep out all the sugar possible from your diet. In Italy, there has been an interesting project made of a partnership between Danone, you know Danone, Barilla and Coop, to help families in acquiring better style, let's say, lifestyle in terms of nutrition, to avoid children become overweight. It's incredible, but if you see the world and you just measure the age from 9 to 14, Italy is the second worst country in the world in terms of overweight. something that we are absolutely not used. If you take Italy in its whole, it's average, it's a good situation, and US is very bad. But if you take only 9 to 14, Italy is number 2 after Greece, and the US is number 7. So it's something coming really, really bad, and also retailers are doing their best to help family. Another problem in terms of free from, and this is a bit more serious, is the problem we have with glyphosate. I don't know if you are speaking about glyphosate, but it's something that in terms of product used from farmers is Roundup. Roundup, you know, it's a very used from Monsanto chemical product that helps to avoid, well, it helps when you grow your plants, but they discover that it's not good because it lasts a little bit in the food that is made by plants with glyphosate. So there is a big campaign, and some retailers are telling our products are without glyphosate. That means that they are not they don't use grains coming from country where glyphosate is still allowed. And we had a big fight on palm oil. Palm oil with the basic ingredient of most sweets, cakes, snacks in Italy. At a certain point, nobody wanted palm oil anymore. There was not a really scientific reason, because palm oil is a fat like others, so it's not worse than others in terms of overweight. But there was a big lobby against, and now all the products are without palm oil, apart from Nutella, from Ferrero. They said, no, we want to keep palm oil because palm oil is good. There is no reason to keep it out of our recipe. And so there is campaign to boycott Nutella. And OGM, well, you know, we don't produce any OGM in Europe, and this is a trend. So number 4, animal welfare. Animal welfare, I would say, in the last 1, maximum 2 years has become a big trend. Even if you are not vegan, you prefer that the product has been done without, let's say, making animal suffering or without animal rights. So there are a lot of retailers that are communicating their sensibility on animals, and even if not everybody is vegan, I think people like to know that the product has been done without antibiotics or so on. And this is not for cow, fish, chicken or whatever, but also for fish. We have a big discussion in Italy on fish that has been not wild fish, but fish coming from farm, that how it has been treated, and in this case, consumers are asking some kind of certification, and of course, the retailers are giving certification that the fish has been or captured or grown with respect to every kind of animal right. On fish, it's kind of a new situation. It's a paradox, because at the same time we have insect proposed as alternatives, and why the insect must suffer and pigs no. It's just a question of time. Probably even insect will be considered not good from the ethical point of view. So I'm going fast to number 5. And this probably is something that is a little bit different than what is happening in US. I think, I'm not sure. We have a big discussion on plastic, big discussion on how it's normal to have packaging or over packaging. Even in this case, it's a bit controversial, because from one side, we like a lot when the product is convenient, well, there is a single serve, when it's, the shelf life goes long, and so on. For instance, the salad, we like to buy it like this. But at the same time, like this, I mean left, not more right. But at the same time, we are very worried about the pollution of plastic in the sea. This is something that everybody is speaking about, and not only producer, but also retailers and consumers. Also because, unfortunately, we are testing that some microplastic is already in the food chain. So we have microplastic in our body just because we eat fish. And this is something that, of course, has to be managed. And retailers are doing, in this case, something. For instance, in UK, unpackaged area in some shops, or reusable packaging, or maybe something that you can use to take liquid without plastic. I mean, the third is a startup, is not, of course, already on the market, but that just to represent that there is a big interest in finding new solution to reduce plastic. Also because there is a rule for EU that it can be start in not more than 20 months, that any kind of single plastic for a single use will be banned. So all producers of packaging and users of packaging are trying to do their best to find other solution. Zero plastic in the store, Lidl, this is a Dutch, so Netherlands, and so on. And the question of plastic introduced to trend number 6, environment, waste, and climate change. This is probably the, let's say, umbrella problem. We are speaking a lot about climate change, especially in the last months. And of course, we know that food represents 1/3 of the causes of climate change. I mean, if there is climate change, CO2, 1/3 of CO2 is created by the food chain. Food, agriculture, of course. And incredible is that 1/3 of food is wasted. So we have a big amount of climate change created by products that we don't eat. So we are working a lot. Most retailers are really doing interesting campaign on reducing waste. So not only reducing plastic and packaging, but also reducing waste or using waste for other kind of product. Using waste, of course, also in terms of giving food to who has not money enough to buy. But so in a way, food against hunger or waste against hunger. Of course, when I speak about climate change and pollution is not only made by waste, there is a problem with energy. So every kind of energy that is not renewable is considered too bad. So there are retailers that are presenting some new solution, for instance, in transportation or in creating photovoltaic panels and so on. There is quite a competition among retailers to demonstrate that they are more ecological than others. And apparently consumers are very happy to choose where they see more responsible company than others. This is Mercadona in Spain, Conad in Italy, and so on. Also because there is a sustainability report that has been done by retailers, and they are happy to demonstrate that they are doing better than what they used to do maybe one year before. And then we are at the last trend, number 7. This is really the newest, and it's a little bit more complicated maybe to explain it. It's the problem of biodiversity. The food chain is also responsible for the reduction of biodiversity in the world. From one side, we have, for instance, less insects, much less insects, especially bees. And you know that agriculture without bees is not agriculture. And at the same time, there is also a reduction of variety of food in the supermarket. I've seen that one speaker before me just presented this issue. So biodiversity can be seen from the two sides. The reduction of biodiversity in terms of less animal species in the world, but also biodiversity of food. And the two things are quite related. So this is FAO made an alarm on biodiversity and food, and some retailers and companies are trying to give some suggestion or some project to avoid what is going to happen. The bees and insect, I must say that probably is the most problematic situation and not easy to recover, because once that you don't have anymore one kind, one species of animals is impossible to recreate again. So there is a lot of attention, and the paradox is that some of the food that are considered healthy and that are really important trend in the market are food that are very bad for the environment just because of their success. Avocados, you know what's happening in South America with avocados. They need a lot of water, and of course farmers are getting much more avocado than what the territory can allow. Almonds, you know, in California what's happening with almond. Quinoa, there is a social problem with farmers in Peru because quinoa raised the price so much that local people cannot buy any more quinoa, and so they are eating junk food that is less expensive, and so on. Soy is a big, intensive agriculture with OGM. So what I wanted to explain is that some trends are in a bit incoherent because this food is what we suggest to eat more, but at the same time, if everybody eat the same food, the environmental impact is very high. So we have to find some kind of solution. This is what some retailers are proposing, so organic product. To be considered organic in Europe is a little bit more difficult than being considered organic in US. I mean, bio Italian is immediately considered organic in US, but absolutely not the opposite because it's quite complicated to have the label bio. This is what Carrefour is doing in connection with WWF. This is what they are doing for fish because in a way fish has the same problem of high environmental impact, and again, some producers and retailers are dealing with NGO like WWF to find solution having a supply chain that is really sustainable. I know that ancient Roman could easily remember 7 trends, but we are not so good as ancient Roman. Probably our memory is not so good, so I find another way to remember it. A, B, C, D, E, F, G are the 7 trends. Thank you.